Hi guys, welcome to another Seasons at Home video. Today I'm making a Croatian mushroom goulash. For this I'm using onions, bacon, beef and pork because I needed 1 kilo of the meat and mushrooms. These are the main ingredients besides spices and salt, of course. And I'm going to do it all in this pot. So the pot needs to be big enough because when we add the mushrooms to our stew, they're going to take some space. I'm going to start by first cutting my bacon. I have this package of thick slices of bacon. These are approximately 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 centimeter. And I'm going to cube it into 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch cubes, or 0.5 times 0.5 times 0.5 centimeters. The rind of the bacon I'm not gonna use, and I'm also going to remove the part with the cartilage. I'm not gonna throw that away. I will use these bits to flavor my soups and stews later during the winter and autumn months. Now into our pot we're going to add something between a teaspoon and tablespoon of oil, just enough so that my bacon does not burn while it's rendering. And I'm going to put my bacon on a medium heat and let it render out. The bits that I'm not going to use today I'm going to put in a Ziploc bag, and that's gonna go into my freezer. Next thing that I'm gonna work on is my beef. So I have a part of the beef that has enough of the marbling on it so that it will thicken the stew. I'm using the chest portion of the beef here, and I'm gonna cut it first into the strips of approximately 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter. I will not remove any of the fat nor any of the connective tissue because this will all render out into my stew, and the collagen from the connective tissue is actually the stuff that is going to thicken up the stew as well as the onions. So after I have cut my beef into the strips, I'm going to take those strips and I'm going to cube them into approximately 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch cubes. Every couple of strips I'm going to stir my bacon to making sure that my bacon does not burn. And then I'm gonna do the same with my pork. Now this is how my bacon looks like at the half point before I'm adding the meat. So it's a bit rendered out, it has a little bit of running but not enough. And it's still a bit too, we say that it's still a bit too much alive for us to put the meat in. So I'm going to start with my onions. I have 3 onions that I'm going to cut into approximately the same cubes, the same size as I did my bacon, so 1/4 inch size. The first layer of onion I'm going to set aside, and I'm going to keep it for my scrap stock later on. Just remember to occasionally stir your bacon. After every onion I have stirred my bacon to make sure that it does not stick and burn. my bacon is done. Well, it's at the point where I want it to be. It still has a little bit of white on it, so it's not perfectly brown. But because I'm just going to plop my beef on the bacon itself, I'm not really worried about it. The bacon is still going to cook out. If you don't think that you know where this point is, you can always cook the bacon until completely brown, take it out, then put beef on. You can even serve the bacon as sort of like a crunch element, but I just like to keep my bacon in the stew. Beef has completely browned, or at least is brown enough for me. I'm going to take it out together with the bacon bits that are now perfectly brown. I'm going to leave the fat inside the pan, and I'm going to put my pork and brown it until it's completely done. You don't have to use 2 types of meat. You can just use bacon. It just needs 1 kilo or 2 pounds of meat. Now that the last of my meat is done, I'm going to again put it aside and put your mushrooms now and brown them so that they also create the mushroom fond before you put in the onions. But honestly, I forgot about the mushrooms and I was in the mode, okay, I'm making goulash, so I just went the usual route and started adding onions. It wasn't until I already put like 2 handful of onions that I remembered, oh yeah, I need to add mushrooms. But it's not such a big of a deal. Now when you add your onions, after a minute or so, it may seem like they're done, but they are not done until they are completely brown and translucent. This is just what they look like after the fond. And this is how your onions will look like when they are completely brown, completely done. And this is the point in which I am going to add back my meat. And if you have browned the mushrooms, then you are also going to add your mushrooms here. If not, then you will just do as I did. With meat, you will actually add a bit more moisture back to the pot, so you will be able to deglaze the pot again from the onion fond. And then I'm going to add my spices. I'm going to add 2 bay leaves. Then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sweet paprika. You could also add 1/4 of a tablespoon of hot paprika, or at least up to 1 tablespoon of hot paprika as per your liking. But I'm going to add cayenne pepper instead because we really like cayenne pepper. Although it wasn't as hot as some things, but I honestly don't like to have things super hot when it comes to the stews with mushrooms inside of them. I prefer my mushroom stews to be a bit less piquant. And then I'm gonna add 1 liter of water or 4 cups of water. And I'm gonna now reduce my heat to medium-low. And I'm going to continue with chopping my garlic. Garlic is added a bit later on and it will still fall apart. I prefer to chop my garlic finely, but that's just because I'm used to chopping my garlic finely. You don't really need to chop it that fine, but you know, habits die hard. And when you're done chopping, just add it to the pot and stir. You will see that now there are still some bits and pieces of onions, but they're sort of like feeling that they're starting to completely fall apart in the liquid. And I'm going to pay attention to the mushrooms this time, and I'm going to cut them into eighths. So if you have like big mushrooms, then cut them into eighths. Medium-sized mushrooms I would cut into quarters, and smaller ones I would just half. The idea is that at the end of the cooking time, the size of the mushrooms is the same as the size of the meat and the bacon bits. I know it looks crowded, but trust me, at the end of the cooking, you will see that it's not going to be. It's not possible for me to completely submerge them, and I don't want to lose any more liquid. I'm going to put a lid on and let it boil. After about 20 minutes, when you take off the lid, it will look something like this. So you will see that the mushrooms have already reduced in size a lot. There's a lot more liquid now, but the mushrooms will keep on letting out their liquids and reducing in size, but filling the goulash with their aroma. At this point, it was smelling just fantastic. So the meat smells, the onions, the mushrooms, it reminded me of hunter's stew or hunter's soup. Super delicious. I wish you could smell this. And after some 2.5 hours, this is what our stew looks like. As you can see, mushrooms are now approximately the size of the meat. There's quite a lot of liquid, and I didn't add any more water, not even like a spoon of water inside. All I did was just leave the mushrooms to do their job and to let their liquid out into the stew. And one of the last spices that I'm gonna add, except pepper, is actually going to be the juniper berries. I'm gonna add 5 of them, and then I'm going to leave the lid off and just let my goulash reduce. And this is how it's looking. This is the thickness that I like when it comes to the goulash. Maybe I could have added a little bit of water here, simply to have a bit more liquid, or just stopped it from reducing so much about a minute or two ago, but honestly it was amazing. At this point I'm just gonna taste the spices, and since I didn't add any wine, I'm going to add a little bit of aceto balsamico, the white version, but I'm not gonna add much simply because it's sweet and I don't want to add any extra sweetness. There's plenty of sweetness from the onions. It doesn't need any more sugar. If I had like a wine vinegar, I would add 2 tablespoons. Then taste again, add a bit more salt, and remember to add your pepper. After that, all I did was just turn the heat off and put the lid on so that the liquid doesn't reduce anymore. One last step was to make a homemade pasta, like really thick pasta, and add my goulash on top. And that's it. I'm now going to eat. Have a nice day. Bye bye. See you soon.